How's it going, UNLV Family Network? My name is Kyle. We are here on behalf of the Housing and Residential Life Department, or Campus Housing as you may know. My role here is the Housing Assignments Coordinator.
My name is Michaelin, and I'm the Housing Operations Coordinator.
My name is Phaedra, and I'm a housing consultant. Yes, so our standard process for our incoming students, they participate in a period called roommate matching, and that's how they can find a compatible person to live with when they are residing with us. And then afterwards, at some point in the summer, they'll select a room together, and they can review all of our housing options on our website that have all of our different room layouts and our different complexes and themed communities. So our incoming first-year students are required to live on campus if they graduated high school outside of the Clark County district. There are certain cities that our residents can be exempted from depending on what city it is in the Las Vegas area, but all of those cities are listed on our website if you need further clarification.
Perfect.
So we have 4 different residential halls on campus. 3 of them are traditional, like dorm-style living, and then we do have one complex that is more apartment-style living, which is our upperclassmen complex. Yes, so our residents are able to change their rooms depending on the situation and the reasoning why. They normally go through our residential assistants to go about debriefing that whole process and then initiating the reason why and where they might see a better fit of living. We actually do have a lot of different themed communities in our residential halls. We have themed communities in 3 of them. So all of our academic themed communities are in our Tonopah complex, and that includes our engineering floor, our hospitality floor, our fine arts floor, and our study intensive floor. And we also do have an all-women's floor in a different section of our Tonopah complex if that is a community anyone's interested in. And then for our upperclassmen complex, we have 2 different communities. We have a graduate and 23 plus floor, and then we also have our Global Gateway community, which is for all of our international students, as well as our students that major or minor in a foreign language. And then finally, we have our South complex, which houses all of our identity-themed communities. So in our South complex, we have our Lokahi floor, which is for our Asian American and Pacific Islander students. And then we have our Howelltown, which is for our Black and African American scholar students. And then we have our Stonewall Suites, which is for our LGBTQIA+ community. And then our final community in South Complex will be our first year experience floor. So if you are a first year at UNLV, but you may not fall under a traditional incoming freshman or a traditional first year, it's a really great option if you're just new to the university and want to be in a community with students that are in your similar situation.
Yeah, so a lot of the costs that we have for students, whether it's amenities or convenience, are already included in the cost. That includes the UNLV Wi-Fi for students. We also have a secondary internet connection for students who may be into gaming. We have electricity and water already included. We don't typically offer a trash service, so the trash utility is not in that one. But as far as those generalized utilities, those are already encompassed in the overall housing costs, so no variable costs as far as that. So all of our housing payments, that includes housing and dining, are encompassed with our overall tuition bill. And those are typically due the Friday before classes begin, just like other tuition costs are. As far as establishing your student on a payment plan, that conversation can be handled with student accounts and cashiering, so they can do a payment plan for all associated costs throughout the semester. And then from there, they have their own designated due dates for those costs. So yes, meal plan are required for all students who live on campus. There is a variety of them. However, we do have either a meal plan change request, so students who may want to change how much or how little they are wanting to eat from those available options, or if there is an extreme dietary or health-related condition that a student does have pre-existing, we do work with our Disability Resource Center on how to go about a potential exemption process from that meal plan. But in the end, all students would be required to have a meal plan if they're living on campus. So we don't typically call it a refund policy. It's almost like a credit. So throughout the semester, we do have what we call a contract release So students who may be wanting to either move off campus for XYZ reason are able to go through the contract release process. Any funds that are paid or contributed to their overall housing bill, they would receive a credit through their My UNLV process if approved, and then in turn would either condition as a refund from the university, or it would just absorb any additional or outstanding costs on their overall tuition balance.
Yeah, UNLV Housing and Residential Life has a lot of different safety measures that we take to ensure that your student is safe while they're living here. The first one I'll talk about is their Rebel Card. So when all students come to UNLV, they do receive a Rebel Card. However, if they live in the residence halls, we add specialized access to them. Not only does it hold its meal plan, but also its building access and room access. So whoever lives, for example, in our Dayton complex will only have access to Dayton complex. Same thing, whoever has access to room 101 will have access to room 101. Additionally, we also have student security that is on site from 7 p.m. to 12 a.m., making sure that every person who is walking up to the building entrance is tapping their Rebel Card, and it has a green light. That means they're good to live here, and if not, we will go ahead and inquire a bit more as to who this person is. The last safety measure we have is in the form of our 24/7 available staff. We have front desk employees who sit at each complex desk from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. to answer any questions, concerns, issue temp cards, as well as equipment if needed. Then once that desk closes, not only again do we have our student security that sits outside, but we also have our on-call personnel. Some of them are the resident assistants from 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. to also do some front desk duties if they need to be let into their room and get a temp card, or if they have other questions and concerns that need to be escalated. There's also other on-call personnel such as the coordinator on call for any escalated situations, as well as emergency maintenance on call too. For all of our emergency procedures, our residents do undergo fire drills each semester, in which they have to take it as seriously as it is a real emergency. With that being said, our resident assistants help out with that process to ensure they know exactly where they need to evacuate to, and so do our professional staff members. For any medical emergencies that may happen day or night, the best thing to do is contact our University Police Services emergency line, as well as if there's any professional staff available to assist, to also make sure you call those numbers as well to see how else we may assist you. So if parents, families, siblings, whoever it is wants to visit, we do have certain guest policies. One of our guest policies is an overnight policy, and for this, a guest is able to stay up to 3 nights a month with the student. Of course, they also need to make sure that the other resident in that same room is okay with it as well. Generally, if there's any guest in the daytime and again at nighttime, the best policy is to have that specific resident with that guest at all times. In the event that we do question who that person is, at least they have someone with them to escort. The other policy that we have is also with our student security at night. So if they are bringing a guest into the residence halls, even if it's just to hang out for a few hours, students will need to have that guest registered into our guest pass system. To start that process, they do need to document the guest with our student security on the outside of the building. However, once they're entered into that system, they can go ahead and in their housing portal continue to add their guest in advance. So to get a little bit more specific, move-in day for the fall is going to be the weekend before Rebel Ready Week. For the spring semester, it's going to be the weekend before first day of classes. What to bring, what not to bring, maybe what you should bring. We do have a move-in guide that's sent out before the start of each semester to help prepare those students and their families. With that being said, some things you definitely should bring and required to bring are for sure your bedding. So depending on what complex you live in, it's either going to be a twin size or a full size bed, and those specifics can be found on our website. I would also suggest clothing for all season, your toiletries, maybe some cleaning supplies with that as well, and anything else you feel like would be comfortable for you to have. Things that you should not bring at all is any type of cooking appliance except for a rice cooker, a water boiler, or a coffee machine, just to avoid any fire hazards and other safety hazards. Nothing with an open flame, extension cords, ones with a power strip is okay. I think that's as much as I can encompass right now, but again, there is going to be a full list that comes out in our moving guide. But if you have questions prior to that moving guide is released, go ahead and let us know, and our housing staff can go ahead and provide a shorter list for you. Yes, so at the start of each semester, we try to help out our families as much as possible to make this move-in process easier and less stressful. With that being said, for the fall and spring, we do hire a moving company that helps the families unload their vehicles and take those items with their equipment up to the student's room and back down. Again, less stress for the families. Outside of those days too, we do have moving bins and hand carts in case they need help utilizing these materials for that heavier equipment that they may have, or just to get it done all in one trip, 1 or 2 trips. So at the end of the academic year, our checkout process varies from complex to complex. However, the best thing to do is go ahead and take a look at the checkout procedure list that the resident assistants typically give all their residents, and it can be summarized as, packing up all your personal belongings so nothing is left behind, cleaning your room, cleaning the bathroom, making sure that if you are utilizing any equipment, temp cards, that they are returned to the desk before you depart, as well as updating your mailing address information. Last step is to complete our checkout process, whether that is with your resident assistant for them to confirm that you did fully leave the space and it's good to go, or our express checkout form if no RA is available.
Well, thank you all for taking the time out to listen and watch. If you have any additional questions, you can always visit our website at unlv.edu/housing.
And then our email is housing@unlv.edu. Or feel free to give us a call at 702-895-3489.